The blockade. The Nexus Gate had been closed for 37 years. Not broken, not destroyed, but guarded by something that defied every attempt to understand it. The massive structure hung in space like a sleeping giant, its crystalline surface catching the light of distant stars. Ships from across the galaxy had tried to approach it. None had returned. Maya Chen pressed her palm against the cool viewport of the transport ship Endeavor, watching the gate grow larger as they approached the forbidden zone. Behind her, the ship's corridors buzzed with nervous energy. 300 souls aboard, representing humanity's last desperate gambit. If they failed here, Earth would be dead within 5 years. Dr. Chen, we're receiving the final warnings now. Captain Rodriguez's voice crackled through the intercom. All alien vessels are pulling back to minimum safe distance. We're on our own. Maya closed her eyes and took a deep breath. The weight of her species' future pressed down on her shoulders like a physical thing. She had volunteered for this mission, knowing the odds. Every ship that had approached the Nexus Gate in the past 4 decades had been vaporized instantly. The alien governments called it the graveyard. Pirates gave it a wide berth. Even the warlike Krathari Empire had tried 3 times to force passage and lost entire battle fleets. But humanity was different. They had to be. The crisis had started 5 years ago, when the Terran Colony Initiative hit an unexpected wall. Earth's population had reached critical mass, resources were dwindling, and the colony worlds in the local cluster were barely self-sufficient. Humanity needed access to the rich systems beyond the Nexus Gate, but the ancient portal was their only way through the gravitational maze of collapsed stars that surrounded the region. Maya walked to the bridge, her engineering tablet clutched tightly in her hands. The data she had gathered over months of research painted a troubling picture. The ship guarding the gate wasn't like anything in the galactic databases. It was old, older than any known civilization, and it had technologies that made no sense according to current scientific understanding. Status report, she said as she entered the bridge. Captain Rodriguez turned in his chair. His weathered face showed the strain of command, but his eyes held steady determination. We're approaching the outer perimeter now. All systems green. The alien observers are maintaining distance as agreed. Maya looked at the main screen. Space around them was filled with ships from dozens of different species, all hanging back at what they considered a safe distance. The Altarians had brought their sleek science vessels. The hulking Gornax heavy cruisers floated like metal mountains. Even a few elegant Gentari diplomatic ships maintained their vigil, their crews probably taking bets on how long the humans would survive. They think we're insane, Lieutenant Park observed from her station. Maybe we are, Rodriguez replied. But insane beats extinct. As they crossed into the restricted zone, Maya felt the ship's sensors begin picking up strange readings. The Nexus Gate itself was massive, easily the size of a small moon, but it wasn't the gate that worried her. It was the ship. At first glance, it looked like a spear thrown by an angry god. 3 kilometers of dark metal, no visible weapons, no identifying marks. It hung motionless between their ship and the gate, as it had for 37 years. Every attempt to scan it had failed. Every attempt to communicate had been ignored. Every attempt to bypass it had ended in instant destruction. Range to contact, Maya asked. 50,000 kilometers in closing, came the reply. Maya's tablet chimed with incoming data. The ship's passive sensors were detecting energy signatures unlike anything she had ever seen. The patterns were complex, almost musical in their mathematical harmony. She frowned at the readings, her engineering mind trying to make sense of what she was seeing. Captain, I'm reading massive energy buildup, the sensor operator called out. Same signature as recorded in previous encounters. All stop, Rodriguez ordered immediately. The Endeavor came to a halt, but the energy readings continued to climb. Maya watched her tablet screen. Fascination overriding fear. The patterns weren't random. They were structured, rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. It's powering up, someone whispered. Maya looked up at the main screen. The alien ship remained motionless, but now faint lines of light were beginning to trace across its hull. The same light they had seen in recordings from doomed ships, always appearing seconds before the end. "Sir, should we retreat?" the helmsman asked, his voice tight with tension. Maya stepped forward. "Wait." Everyone on the bridge turned to look at her. She stared at her tablet, mind racing. The energy patterns were becoming more complex, but they weren't following the profiles from previous encounters. Something was different. "Dr. Chen," Rodriguez prompted. Maya looked up at the captain. "It's not charging weapons. The frequency is wrong. The harmonic structure is completely different. This isn't the same pattern that destroyed the other ships." "How can you be sure?" Maya turned back to her tablet, fingers flying across the interface as she compared current readings with historical data. Every ship that was destroyed showed identical energy signatures in the moments before impact. High-frequency plasma discharge, focused gamma radiation, particle beam acceleration. This is none of those things. She paused, staring at the screen. "Captain, I think it's trying to communicate." The bridge fell silent except for the hum of electronics and the distant whisper of air recyclers. Outside, the alien ship continued to glow with strange light, patterns flowing across its surface like water. "Communications, anything on any frequency?" Rodriguez asked. "Negative, sir. No standard transmissions detected." Maya was already working, her engineering background kicking in. If the ship was trying to communicate through energy patterns, she needed to find the right way to decode them. She pulled up the ship's sensor array controls and began adjusting parameters. "What are you doing?" Rodriguez asked. "Expanding our detection range. If this is communication, it might not be using conventional methods." Maya's fingers danced across the interface. "There. I'm picking up quantum fluctuations, gravimetric distortions, even minor disruptions in local spacetime." The patterns on her screen became more complex, beautiful in their mathematical precision. Maya felt her breath catch as understanding began to dawn. "My God," she whispered. "It's not just communicating. It's thinking." The alien ship suddenly changed. The flowing lights shifted from blue to gold, and new patterns emerged. Maya's sensors detected a massive surge in quantum activity, but still nothing that resembled weapons charging. "Captain," she said urgently, "I need to try something." "What?" Maya was already at the communications console. "If it's trying to talk to us, we should try talking back." She began inputting commands, using the ship's communication array to broadcast simple mathematical sequences, prime numbers first, then basic geometric relationships. The response was immediate. The lights on the alien ship pulsed in rhythm with her transmissions, then began showing new patterns. "It's responding," Maya breathed. The patterns grew more complex. Maya found herself drawn into a strange dance of mathematics and energy, each exchange building on the last. The alien ship was teaching her its language, and she was learning faster than she had thought possible. Then, without warning, everything changed. The space around the Endeavor suddenly filled with light, not the harsh glare of weapons fire, but something softer, more welcoming. Maya realized they were being scanned, examined by technologies beyond human understanding. "Shields are holding," the tactical officer reported, but his voice carried confusion rather than alarm. Maya looked at her readings and gasped. The scan wasn't aggressive or invasive. It was gentle, careful, almost respectful. The alien ship was learning about them just as she had been learning about it. The scanning stopped. For several heartbeats, space was silent. Then Maya's tablet erupted with data. Not random noise, not mathematical abstractions, but something that made her heart race with possibilities. The alien ship was sending them information. Star charts, energy frequencies, technological specifications. It was sharing knowledge. "Captain," Maya said, her voice barely above a whisper, "I don't think this ship has been attacking intruders." "What do you mean?" Maya looked up at him, eyes wide with realization. "I think it's been testing them. and every species that came before us failed the test. Before Rodriguez could respond, Maya's tablet chimed with one final transmission. This time the message was clear, unmistakable in its meaning despite being expressed through pure mathematical concepts. The alien ship wanted to meet with them, face to face. And for the first time in 37 years, the guardian of the Nexus Gate was powering down its defenses. The truth revealed. Maya Chen floated in her environmental suit through the docking tube that connected the Endeavor to the alien vessel. Every breath echoed in her helmet. Every heartbeat thundered in her ears. Behind her, Captain Rodriguez and two security officers followed, but Maya felt utterly alone with the weight of her species' future. The alien ship's hull stretched endlessly in all directions, its dark surface now traced with veins of soft golden light. As they approached the airlock that had opened for them, Maya marveled at the engineering. The ship's hull wasn't metal as she had assumed, but something that seemed to shift between solid matter and pure energy. "Dr. Chen, readings are off the charts," came Lieutenant Park's voice through the comm. "The ship's interior is showing impossible spatial dimensions. It's bigger inside than outside." Maya wasn't surprised. After hours of communication exchanges, she had begun to suspect they were dealing with technology that operated on principles humanity hadn't even discovered yet. The mathematical conversations had grown increasingly complex, touching on concepts that stretched her engineering background to its limits. The airlock cycled through with a whisper of equalizing pressure. Maya stepped through into a corridor that defied description. The walls curved impossibly. Surfaces that should have been solid seemed to pulse with inner light, and the floor beneath her feet felt warm despite the temperature readings in her suit showing near absolute zero. "Welcome," came a voice that seemed to speak directly into her mind rather than through her comm system. Maya stopped walking. The voice was neither male nor female, neither young nor old. It simply was, carrying with it a weight of unimaginable age and wisdom. "You can understand us," she said aloud. "I understand all who approach with peaceful intent. I have learned your languages from your communications, your history from your cultural transmissions, your nature from your actions." The voice paused. "You are the first in 37 years to attempt communication rather than force." Maya felt the others tense behind her, but she stepped forward. "You're the guardian of this place. I am the Sentinel. I was placed here long ago to ensure that only those worthy of passage may continue to the inner systems." The corridor around them began to change, walls becoming transparent to reveal the vast interior of the ship. Maya gasped as she saw gardens floating in zero gravity, vast libraries of crystalline data storage, and something that looked like a council chamber large enough to hold representatives from 100 worlds. "Who placed you here?" Captain Rodriguez asked. "Those who came before, a civilization that spanned galaxies when your species was still learning to use fire. They foresaw a time when younger races would seek passage to the inner systems, where worlds rich in resources and knowledge wait for those ready to claim them." Maya felt pieces of a vast puzzle clicking into place. The inner systems. That's why every species wants through the Nexus Gate. Indeed, beyond this portal lie worlds that could support billions, energy sources that could power civilizations, knowledge that could advance any species by millennia. But such power requires wisdom to wield responsibly. The Sentinel led them deeper into the ship, through chambers that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Maya's suit sensors couldn't make sense of what they were detecting, but her human intuition told her she was in the presence of something magnificent. "What happened to the others?" she asked. "The ships that were destroyed." The voice carried a note of sadness. "They were not destroyed. They were returned. Each species that approached demanded passage through force. They brought weapons, threats, armies. When they could not break through my defenses, they attacked. I was forced to send them back to where they came from, their memories of this place removed to prevent them from leading others in similar attempts." "But we're still here," Rodriguez observed. "Because you are different." Dr. Chen attempted to communicate. When faced with unknown technology, her response was curiosity, not aggression. When given the opportunity to learn, she chose understanding over conquest. Maya felt a flush of pride, but also growing worry. What exactly is the test? The chamber they entered was vast beyond measurement. At its center floated a sphere of light that pulsed with the same rhythm Maya had detected in the ship's energy patterns. As they approached, images began to form in the light. Earth, as seen from space, human cities, human art, human conflicts. "I must know your true nature," the sentinel said. "Every species claims to be peaceful, to be ready for the responsibilities of galactic citizenship, but actions reveal truth better than words." The images in the sphere changed. Maya saw humanity's history playing out like a movie. The beautiful and the terrible, the moments of greatest achievement and darkest failure. Wars, discoveries, acts of incredible cruelty and breathtaking compassion. "This is your test," the sentinel continued. "I will ask you questions, and you must answer truthfully. Any deception, any attempt to hide your species' darker nature, and you will fail as all others have failed." Maya's throat went dry. She understood now why other species had resorted to force. Facing the complete truth about your own people was infinitely harder than facing weapons. The first question came not in words, but as knowledge directly transmitted into her mind. Maya saw images of human warfare, from ancient battles to modern conflicts. The question was simple and terrible. Why do humans fight? Maya could have lied. She could have spoken of noble causes and just wars. Instead, she took a deep breath and answered with devastating honesty. "We fight because we're afraid," she said. "Afraid of being different, afraid of losing what we have, afraid of change. But we also fight to protect those we love, to defend ideas we believe in. And sometimes just because we don't know how to stop." The sentinel was silent for a long moment. Then came the second question, accompanied by images of environmental destruction, species extinction, the scars humanity had left on Earth. Maya closed her eyes. "We damage our world because we're short-sighted. We think in terms of years or decades when we should think in centuries. We're learning, but slowly, and sometimes too late." More questions followed. About human prejudice, about inequality, about the failures of human societies. Each time, Maya answered with brutal honesty, feeling like she was condemning her entire species with every word. Finally, the questions stopped. The sphere at the chamber's center pulsed brighter, and Maya braced herself for rejection, for the same fate that had befallen every other species. Instead, the sentinel's voice carried something that sounded like approval. "You have passed the first part of the test," it said. "First part?" Rodriguez asked. "Truth was the beginning. Now comes the more difficult question. Knowing all of this about yourselves, do you still believe humanity deserves access to the inner systems?" Maya felt the weight of the question. She thought about Earth's dying resources, about colony worlds struggling to survive, about the millions of lives hanging in the balance. Then she thought about human history, about all the ways her species have failed. "No," she said quietly. The word hung in the air like a judgment. Behind her, she heard Captain Rodriguez make a sound of protest, but Maya held up her hand. "We don't deserve it," she continued. "Not yet. We're too young, too reckless, too quick to fight, and too slow to learn. If you gave us access to unlimited resources and advanced technology right now, we'd probably find a way to destroy ourselves and take half the galaxy with us." The sentinel said nothing. Maya took a deep breath and continued. "But we're trying to be better. Every generation learns from the mistakes of the last. We're beginning to understand that we're all connected, that what happens to one affects all. We're not ready for what lies beyond that gate, but someday we might be. And if I told you that your species faces extinction without access to the inner systems?" Maya felt tears in her eyes. "Then we'll find another way. We'll adapt, we'll innovate, we'll survive somehow, because that's what humans do. We don't give up, even when we should." The silence stretched for what felt like hours. Then, slowly, the sentinel began to speak. In 37 years, 43 species have approached this gate. 43 have demanded passage as their right. 43 have offered threats, bribes, or force to achieve their goals. You are the first to admit your unworthiness, and in doing so, you have proven your worth. The chamber around them began to change, walls becoming transparent to reveal the Nexus gate beyond. But now Maya could see that it wasn't just a portal, it was part of a vast network, a web of connections spanning the galaxy. The inner systems are not resources to be plundered, the Sentinel explained. They are a trust to be shared among species wise enough to use them responsibly. Your honesty, your willingness to put principle before survival, your recognition of your own flaws. These are the qualities we have waited to find. Maya felt her heart racing. You mean? The passage is yours, Dr. Chen. But more than that, you have earned something no other species has achieved. You will be the first to join the Council of Guardians, to help us evaluate other species who seek passage in the future. Captain Rodriguez stepped forward. What does that mean for humanity? It means you will have access to the inner systems, but gradually, carefully, with guidance to help you avoid the mistakes that have destroyed other civilizations. Dr. Chen will serve as liaison, learning from us as we learn from you. Maya felt overwhelmed. Why me? Because you had the courage to tell the truth when lies would have been easier. Because you chose wisdom over expedience. Because when faced with your species' flaws, you didn't try to hide them. You committed to overcoming them. As they returned to the endeavor, Maya's mind reeled with possibilities. Humanity would survive, would thrive, would take its place among the stars. But more than that, they would do so as partners in something greater than themselves. The Nexus gate began to open, revealing a tunnel of light that stretched toward distant stars. Behind them, the alien observers watched in amazement as the first human ship in galactic history passed through the ancient portal. Maya Chen had saved her species not through force or deception, but through the simple act of telling the truth. In a galaxy where might often made right, humanity had chosen a different path. And the universe would never be the same.